Just listen to that music. Not many games can trigger many happy memories. Thankfully, this is one of them. In the year 2003, I was introduced to this game, and like many others, I was very surprised. Here we see the first appearance of the Zelda series' fan-dividing, cel-shading graphics, although, to be brutally honest with you, I love it. It was a bold move by Nintendo at the time to take us away from the more familiar graphics from Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. The cel-shaded graphics are refreshing. On the Gamecube, 3 Zelda titles were released. This one, 4 Sword Adventures and Twilight Princess. The latter, of course, also being a launch title for the Nintendo Wii. The Wind Waker has more of a child-friendly nature, unlike its predecessors. But don't be fooled by the graphics. This is definitely a Zelda game, and it is one of the greatest Zelda games ever made. And it is one of the greatest games of all time. And this is your overworld for the game. Now, I could be totally wrong, but up to now, I believe this is the biggest overworld for a Zelda game ever. Although, I think that the mantle may be taken by the release of Breath of the Wild next year. Plus, the music that plays during this is just awesome, and one of the best overworld themes in the series. Just listen. It gives me goosebumps just listening to it. While I'm on the subject, as per usual, the soundtrack is near perfect, with some really memorable tracks, particularly the Mulgera battle. Now, the combat system in this game is also a huge positive for me, as they may actually be the best in the whole series along with Twilight Princess. You still have your targeting system, which was a groundbreaking feature in the N64 Zelda games. But at times in this game, when you are prompted to press the A button while you're in the middle of fighting an enemy, or even a boss, Link unleashes a deadly attack which can deal great damage to the opponent. There's so much badassery in this game, it's so unreal. While I'm at it, the enemies in this game are fun to battle. Not one part of this game feels so monotonous. It is one of the rare times where I feel that every single dungeon in this game is at least good in my books. While I adore Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, the water temples in both of those games I found to be a bit tedious at some times, especially in Ocarina of Time. In terms of the original version on the Gamecube, which is what I'm basing this review on, some fans have said negative comments about the Triforce section towards the end of the game, stating that it gets tedious after a while. I myself have to disagree. I love travelling across the ocean, uncovering treasure and exploring the many islands. After 13 years of playing this game, I still find out something new. Now, each Zelda game sometimes can introduce a cool new item, as well as bring back some old favourites. A Link to the Past had the hookshot, Ocarina of Time had a Megaton Hammer and the Lens of Truth. Majora's Mask had a multitude of masks that had magical abilities. In this game, we have a leaf. Now, as shit as this sounds, this item is actually really awesome. It's like a better version of the cape from Super Mario World. But we're forgetting something, right? That's right, I couldn't possibly talk about the items in this game without mentioning the title item, the Wind Waker. Basically, this is very similar to instruments that were used in previous and subsequent games. Each song you learn has a magical ability, one in which you control the wind in the right direction in order to navigate your boat in your desired destination. Plus, later in the game, you get to warp to make things faster. There's just so much good things to talk about with this game. Are there any negatives? Well, I find Medley a bit annoying. I can't justify why I feel this way, but I always have. My car is fine though. You leave my little tree man alone. With that, I think it's time to rate this game. Now, red is gaming hell, which contain the absolute epitome of shit games, such as the CGI games, which I will never ever consider to be part of the Zelda timeline. The green bit is down to earth, which can contain games which pass as being good and can be worth checking out, like the DS Zelda games. And the blue bit is gaming heaven, which contain games which I consider to be excellent, and that if you've never played them, then I'm really sorry, but I don't know what you're doing with your life. This section includes A Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask. Now, based on what I've said so far about the Wind Waker, do you have any idea which section I'm going to place it in? If you thought Gaming Heaven, then you're absolutely right. The first time I played this was 13 years ago, and I think that all these years later, the game has aged considerably well. In addition, newcomers to the franchise can experience it all over again, as the Wind Waker has since been re-released and remastered for the Wii U with updated graphics, as well as being an improvement in some areas of the game. But I myself never had a single problem with the original Gamecube version to start with. For me, the Wind Waker formed some of the best parts of my childhood. I'm not just talking about myself either. I have some shared memories with another person, and I feel that the experiences of this game that we had in our childhood cannot be matched. Not now, not ever. That is why everyone is laughing at you for what you have now become. And that is all I have to say. My journey to the past is now complete. I've been putting this game review off for quite a while, and that's because of some reasons that I don't wish to disclose. But basically, this review could have come out at least 2 years ago. But I think that releasing this now is for the better. As I said in episode 42, if you rush into something, then eventually it'll all catch up with you and you will fail, and you will have to face the consequences eventually. I hope you enjoyed this episode of James Games. Now let's look to the future. I have a lot planned for this series, so stay tuned as we gear up for the 50th episode. But before we end, let's just remind ourselves just why The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker is one of the greatest games ever made.